What up? I'm like 3 minutes late, but should be good. Hold on, let me turn this to ultra low. All right, I'm gonna start answering some questions. I actually was gonna talk to you about the flight that I did yesterday. So yesterday, well, let me talk about like what this whole live stream is going to be about. First, I'm going to talk about yesterday. I'm going to talk about the new KISS V2. I'm going to talk about the V1 stuff, the 32 amp ESCs, the 24 amp ESCs, and then also some like just random questions that you guys have. I will be answering those as well. So first off, I will go into what I'm sorry, like the chat is going crazy, so forgive me. I'll get to that in a second. But so I was flying yesterday. Let me grab the quad over here. Jack's videos. All right. Okay, so this is the quad that I was flying yesterday in that video titled KISS V1 or KISS V2. And that was actually, unlike popular belief, it was a V1 KISS flight controller and KISS 24 amp ESCs. So nothing new, nothing special. And also I was actually testing out 5040s. These are old V1S 5040 by 3 PC props, and they're not the 54.3 V1S. So anyways, I had 5040s on 3 of the motors, and then the front right motor had a 54.3 or 5 by 4.3 by 3. Sorry, it gets confusing. 5 by 4.3 by 3 in the front right, and that's what I flew with in the video. So that like just goes to show you that it's not all about gear, but more about how you're going into flying with it. Who was calling me? Maybe it's Snake telling me my stuff sucks. Hello? Oh God. Does it suck? Is it working? Is it good? Oh, okay. Well, let me let you go so I can get back to this. Alright, I'll talk to you in a little bit. Alright, that was Snake randomly hitting me up, watching my live stream. I can't tell if it's going well. It looks like it's going decent, but it's delayed, so yeah, I don't know. But so anyways, let's get back to this. This is an Alien with 24 amp ESCs, Mr. Steele motors, the typical setup that I've been flying for a long time. It had the KISS V1 on RC25. I know a lot of people were talking about RC30 and beyond. Like I never actually switched to RC30. I preferred the flight characteristics of RC25 over RC30, just a personal preference. So that was 24 amps or KISS V1 and 3 5x4s and 1 5x4.3 yesterday. Now, with that being said, I have had the KISS V2 set up for, I would say, 2 months now, at least. So I've had the KISS V2 flight controller and the KISS 32 amp ESCs for a little over 2 months now. Sorry, there's someone on my live streams outside honking at me. No, but so this is the V2 setup. So it's identical, KISS, Alien, everything's the same. I'm running Crossfire on both, except this one has a V2 and 32 amp ESCs, and this one has a V1 and 24 amp ESCs. It's Friday, so there's people out partying and screaming. Anyways, so V2, V1. I was kind of skeptical on the idea between the difference between like V2 and V1, and I still really liked V1, and I didn't actually know that the price of the V2, I still don't know the exact price. Someone said $80 for the flight controller, and then I think the ESCs are like $28, but don't quote me on those prices because I actually don't know. And anyways, that's a very high price to pay Especially considering when I was originally testing the two, I was running like an old prototype firmware on this, and I was running like obviously the 10th or 100th iteration of the V1 flight controller. And kind of the best way I could put it was the difference wasn't necessarily that big. It was more that the V1 flew in a more organic manner, and I preferred the V1 because the V2, like I said, when I got it 2 months ago, was still kind of in prototype phase, and it was beyond like super prototype, but it was getting to the point where there were people testing it saying, hey, this is what's wrong, this isn't what's wrong. Anyways, so I didn't really like the V2 when it came out, and I just kind of put it off until usually the third iteration of the firmware that comes out is the one that I usually will gravitate towards. Kind of with this, like when they come out with a new one, I'll wait a couple until they come out with like 3 more, and then I go to it and try it out. With this, I kind of did the same thing, waited. I actually got an email a couple days ago because I was kind of trying to be quiet with this stuff. I didn't want it to, I didn't even fly it around my friends because I didn't really know what that meant if I needed to not show anybody. It looks very similar, but there are LEDs on the board, so it does look different. So anyways, yeah, this thing wasn't that crazy, and I flew it today, and it changed my mind. So let me kind of talk about that a little bit. So I went out and I flew the quad that I flew yesterday, realized that it had a 5.3 on the front right. Flew it again with a 5.4 in the front and 50/40s on the rest of the props, or rest of the motors. Flies fine, put all 50/40s on there. It flies really good. It feels kind of loose, so I actually really like a loose feeling quad. It's a little easier to like kind of throw and do things with. It doesn't have as much pull-out power, but it does feel really good with 50/40s on it. But I still kind of prefer the 54.5 by 4.3 by 3 prop on the old stuff. And with this, I had just dumped my my KISS PIDs, like a dump directly from the V1 to the V2, and I didn't really like how it flew. So I was like kind of jostling around with it for the last couple days, and I've been changing things, and I realized that with this I can have the filters off and I can have the PIDs at a certain level. But if I go somewhere else, like if I go to a new environment, maybe altitude's changed, the humidity's changed, something like that, it will sometimes be subjective to oscillations just because it's not as consistent, because it is kind of on the ragged edge of tuning. Where this thing, when I started adjusting things, I actually turned more filters on and got it to fly more crisp with like LPF on high than it would with it off for some reason. I was getting a little bit of vibration issues with LPF off, but when I put it on high, and then I actually increased the PIDs, which to me just goes to show that the F7 board's working really hard to calculate all these numbers, because that was a problem with the V1. If you started putting LPFs on, then you would have to reduce the PIDs, and that would make it feel spongier. So it was a play between like something that was spongy feeling but didn't vibrate versus something that was really, really nice feeling but had some vibration issues. Where this thing, I was able to turn an LPF on high, and then I was able to crank the PIDs up. Like with the V2 today, I was running on the 54.3 by 3s. I was running like roll P at like 4.4, which is like unheard of. I haven't had a roll P that high in a long time. Roll D was at like 16.8 or something like that. Roll I was at 0.55. Pitch P was at like 6.6 or 6.7. Pitch D was at like 22.3 or 22.8. And then yaw was almost at like 8.5 on P, which is crazy. Those numbers are really high. That reminds me of like old flight, clean flight days when the numbers were like crazy, and then everybody was like, oh no, we're gonna go and change the numbers so they don't have as much effect on it and they won't be as high. So I haven't seen numbers that high in a long time, but with this flying with those numbers, it felt really, really good. And honestly, I flew like back to back a bunch of quads. Like I flew the 50/40s, then I put 54.3s on the V1, flew that for like 4 packs. Then I put the camera on this and flew this for like 4 or 5 packs. And then I went back to the V1, and then I went to this, and then I went back to the V1, and then I went to this. And I ended on and this is only like a couple days of testing, obviously, like back to back testing, because I'm getting this to where it feels really good now. The only difference I would say is this handles a little bit more it just feels like it's reading your brain a little bit more than the V1. Uh, to that being said, like I don't really know if people feel like the V1 reads their brain, because the V1 definitely reads my brain. This thing feels like really, really locked in. And now that I can crank the P's, because the filtering power is a little bit like higher, obviously, because it's a F3 to an F7, the filtering power is a lot better. And you know, Alex and Norbert and Felix, all those guys over there at Flyduino are killing it with this thing. I haven't had a lot of time to play with it. Obviously, I have had it for a while, but I haven't really liked it because the firmware stuff. And now I'm on RC32, I think. And with the PIDs set up the way that I have them now, it's solid, no vibration issues whatsoever. It actually feels like it has a little bit more kind of like throttle resolution almost, because I went from this quad flying at like 5 packs and then went back to the V1 and was kind of feeling like it was a little underpowered down low. And I actually did some testing on this, and it's not 100%. Like I just flew one battery that was full, brand new like Thunder Power, and then I put another Thunder Power brand new on this. I flew a full battery on the V1 and I flew a full battery on the V2. Same exact setup. The only difference is one has 32 MPSCs and one has a V2, and the other one has 24 and a V1. And the V1 actually on the OSD read, I'll tell you the exact numbers. So V1 OSD, so this is V1 and 24 amp ESCs. It flew for 3 minutes, max amps, or sorry, this is a V2, sorry, V2. Flew for 3 minutes, max amp draw was 92.5 amps, average amp draw was 77 amps, min voltage was 13.1, max wattage was 1280. C rating is 871, like it's kind of arbitrary. They were 100 C batteries, you know, I don't know, whatever. I drew out 1,000 milliamps, and then the temperature was 116 degrees Fahrenheit. And then I flew the V1 right after that, and I got the same amount of flight time, but the max amp draw was 106.5 amps, so almost, was that 14 amps more on the V1 with 24s. Average amp draw was 84 versus 77 on the V2, and then the min voltage was the same, 13.1. Wattage, actually it says 1486 instead of 12. I think the other one was 1280. This is 1486, so more wattage, even though it felt like it had less power. And then the temperature was like the same, like 115 degrees Fahrenheit. But the one thing that kind of really stuck out to me, and I don't know if this is true, I'm just speculating, that the amp draw was more on the V1 with the 24s than it was on the V2. And the only thing I can like think about is that the 32s like are kind of like having a bigger pipe and enabling more current to flow through the pipe, versus having a tighter pipe at 24 amp ESC. But again, it shouldn't even be limiting, because the V1 and the KISS 24s like shouldn't even hit current limiting until like 120 amps, and I'm not even drawing that. I'm drawing 106, versus the V2 I'm drawing 92. But the only thing I can think of is that it, I don't know, maybe can flow a little bit better. And it felt that way ever so slightly. The V2 felt like it was a little bit more responsive, like you had more power even though you didn't have more power. You had the same power. It just felt like it flowed a little bit quicker. I don't know. These are things that I just speculating based on feel, as in I have flown these things, the V2, only for maybe 25 packs now. And today was the only day that I compared it directly with the V1 on exact same quads. But again, like I think they're both phenomenal. I'll continue to fly V1s, and I'll continue to test this on the V2. This will be my go-to rig, and this will be kind of like my, hey, I don't know, I want to fly a little bit differently, or I feel like I'm comfortable flying this rig in a different spot or something. But the V1 still flying solid. However, I will say that the V2 probably, and this is like base level, like the V1, we started down here, we crept, we're all the way here now, and now the V2 is basically starting out at the same point, and its headroom is huge. Like you can go a lot farther as far as performance on the F7 than you can on the F3. I don't know, just a lot more potential with the V2 stuff. So it might not be like a crazy upgrade for you now. Like if you're thinking, oh, I need to get the V2 because it's the latest and greatest. I honestly don't think a lot of people are going to notice the difference as far as performance characteristics right now. I'm running D-Shot 2400, by the way, if people were curious. This was D-Shot 600. There's not really any difference there that I can really feel. I think more of the difference in this is that the processing power and the filters are actually allowing me to crank the PIDs up, which in cranking the PIDs up makes the quad feel more locked in without vibrations. So that's nice. And anyway, so that's kind of the gist from the video. Yesterday I was flying V1, it wasn't V2. Today I flew the V2 a lot along with the V1 and kind of deduced that the V2 feels really good, but mainly only because I can crank the PIDs up a little bit higher. It doesn't really have anything to do with it being faster or more powerful. The chip is more powerful, enabling me to crank the PIDs without having vibration issues. I used to crank the PIDs on the V1 back in the day, but then you have vibration issues in the video. It's not that good. So if you don't care about video and you want to crank the PIDs and have it feel really good, the V1 for me was a solid option, but I need video to be really good. So I feel like this is going to be kind of that next level. Like if I want to have a quad that feels really good, there was always a trade-off. It always either felt really, really good, like a line of sight quad. I could tune a really light quad to fly a line of sight and it felt amazing, and I could turn all the filters off because it weighed so little and I didn't really care if it had a little bit of vibrations. But an FPV quad where I'm trying to get like legitimate video out of it, it's a little harder to do with like a heavier rig. And also if you crash it and you bend stuff, like with a line of sight quad, you can crash it on grass and it doesn't really do anything. So anyways, so I've been talking literally straight for 17 minutes now. I'm sorry. I'm sure some people have learned one thing or two. So now I'm going to go into the comments and I'm going to try to answer as many comment questions as I can without delving into an extreme amount of tangents. So if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. And yeah. Okay, let's see. What would I recommend for a first build? So this is a weird question. I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible. For me, I think the best thing to do is to start with a radio on a simulator, learn how to fly really well, and then I would just go ahead and buy something like higher quality. I know people are going to say, oh, you're just telling me to buy what you fly, and I am, because I don't really know how to build anything else, and there's a lot of information about how to build something that I fly because, you know, that's kind of how it works. Like I have my quads, I've been building them the same for a long time. They fly really well, obviously you can see, and I don't know, that is what I would say. I would say build a quad that flies very much like the simulator so that you don't have to relearn how to fly. Because if you learn how to build a quad and then you go try to tune it in real life versus flying on a simulator that's tuned completely differently and you don't understand rates and you don't understand stuff like that, it's better to take notes from someone that's been doing it for a while that has a better grasp of how to kind of make things a little bit more easier and also a little bit more like level. Like simulator being hard is one thing, but then real life flying is a lot harder if you don't equate the two as being similar. Like my buddy Pete, quick story, buddy Pete, next door neighbor, never flew anything in his life, gave him a freaking radio, set him up on a sim, put my PIDs and set the thing up to feel like my real quad. Then he ended up building a quad exactly like mine, went out and flew, and he was doing like rolls through gaps and stuff the first day. Yeah, he had to learn how to like understand if you crash, you don't just get to hit the reset button, but at the same time, it was very much a success story as far as being able to fly right out of the gate and not breaking anything. He did lose the quad because he went away and lost video because he was running 25 milliwatts. There's no substitute for knowledge about the gear that you're using. But as far as flying is easy. The FPV part and all the knowledge that goes with it is the difficult part. You got to learn a lot to be able to succeed in this industry. Not succeed, but you can fly, but you might lose something. Steele, what FPV simulator would I recommend? This is from Jocelyn M. I would recommend Velocidrone. Just for me personally, I like Liftoff too, and I kind of liked the old DRL sim, but they were a little bit more difficult to get set up to the way that felt good. Liftoff is really, really cool. I think those guys have really good ideas, but the fact of being able to like go into the game and change the battery size and change the props and the motors, and that changes how the quad flies in the game, that's really cool because it relates to real life, but at the same time, it's really annoying because you don't know really what you need. Like, even for me going in, I knew what I wanted the quad to fly like, but when I started adjusting and putting parts on, it wasn't really relevant like it would be in real life. Like if I put a fat battery on it, it didn't really feel heavier. If I put motors on it, like I don't know how those motors perform in real life, so how am I supposed to know how they perform in a game? So you're just like picking and choosing. Where like on Velocidrone you have little slider bars, and you're like, oh okay, I just want to adjust gravity, like adjust this, and now it flies like it does in real life or whatever, you know. And it's still not perfect, but it's as close as you can get. Let's see, what's another one? Drew Schultz FPV. How much bigger chip does the F7 look like? Hang on the camera. Like, I don't know if he's asking about the chip size. It's underneath the FC, and it's pretty big. Like, I would say it's about the size of your thumbnail versus the F3 board's like half the size of your pinky nail. Let's try another one. 101 Twigs. Do you fly micro ever? I actually don't really ever fly micro. If I ever get time to fly, I just go outside and fly a 5-inch. Or I sit on the simulator occasionally, like I think yesterday and the day before were the first time I'd gotten on a sim in like 3 months. But with that being said, I have a box over there from Newbie Drone, and they sent me a new little micro, like tiny whoop kind of thing that's really, really high performance apparently, and I'm going to be opening that. It's literally been sitting in the box for about a month now, waiting for me to get to it so that I can open it on camera. I actually broke my A6500 the other day, so that's sent off to get fixed. So if I'm going to do any like blogging, I'm going to be doing it with a GoPro 6, which I kind of really like. I know Konasty's been using his a lot, and it looks dope. Gabe Ramshaw, beginner goggles. Beginner goggles, I don't really know any off the top of my head other than like a cheaper set of Fat Sharks. But the cool thing about Fat Shark in general is if you got like a second-hand pair of Dominators or something, their customer service is really good. So if they're like broken, you can probably get them fixed for free. At the same time, you want something with DVR. A lot of goggles don't have DVR. Basically what that is I think it's digital video recording is what it stands for. You're recording the analog video so that when you crash, and when you crash, you can actually replay the video and go back and find where the quad is. And now if my buddy Pete had this when he lost his quad flying too far away, he could have been able to go back and watch and be like, oh, I was near this and I crashed in that general area. So it would have put him in the ballpark versus like going out and just looking, oh, I was over there somewhere, like 100 yards away. I don't know where I am. There's just all kinds of elevation change. There's all kinds of bushes and stuff. So DVR is something I extremely highly recommend, and I don't know of very many goggles that have DVR. So I would recommend like a pair of Dominator V2s or even an HDV1s or something like that. Pick them up secondhand instead of like I don't know, even the Attitude V4. I'm not sure if it has DVR, but I'm pretty sure you could pick that up for fairly inexpensive. I don't know the prices, but I would guess around $250. But again, with goggles and the radio, like you're only going to buy those things once. So my theory is you're going to probably like the industry if you are thinking about buying stuff. If you play on the simulator and you like it, then you're probably going to like it. So just buy the good stuff, and then if you have to sell it, you're not going to lose as much money. If you buy something that's really cheap and you try to sell it, there's probably a lot of other people trying to sell cheap stuff, and nobody really wants secondhand cheap stuff because they can buy it brand new for so cheap. So if you buy like the top of the line goggles, then you can be like, oh, I bought these a couple days ago. I don't really like this. They were $480 new. I'm going to sell them for $430 or $450. You'll lose $50. Like that's not that big of a deal. Let's see. I've got a $15 DVR added to my goggles. Should be here shortly. Mike Jackson. Sounds cool. Yeah, I don't know that much about external DVRs. Damn it, that one slipped away. Sorry. In love with flight. What is your favorite female FPV channel pilot? My favorite is Onigiri or Noelle, the girl that lived in Australia and like the boonies in Australia, and then now she's just moving somewhere. I guess she quit her job and now she's going somewhere else. They're traveling the world with her boyfriend Kevin, and yeah, it's gonna be cool. I can't wait to see their adventures. I just think she's a good person. I think she's a talented pilot, and she like does really good content as well. She's really good in front of the camera, and her accent's cool as well. I don't know. She just their camera like I'm astounded at how good their camera does. I don't know what they're using, but it's like compared to what I use, which is a really nice camera, it looks like they're using a Red with like manual focus or something. It looks crazy. Nicholas Delacambri, hi Steele. Oh god, it's gonna go away. I gotta stop it. Oh god. I'm just a beginner, but I want a pro quad. When you think you can put a build you mount or a game for a good price. So I'm basically thinking he's saying that he wants a pro quad. When will there be one available of mine that is fairly inexpensive? So that is a great question. I have something that I'll be launching with Flight Test very shortly that will basically be able to provide a kit with everything that I would use to build one of these for a very reasonable price. It'll actually be cheaper to buy this kit, which with everything in here, name brand, all of this stuff, like a full quad in a box basically, but you'll have to build it for cheaper than if you went out and tried to buy all of the parts. And it also comes from one location. So you just go, hey, I want that box. And once you buy the box, everything that you would see here to build this quad comes in one box, and it's very inexpensive. And you can also buy, not inexpensive, but it's reasonable and cheaper than if you were to go out and buy these parts individually. Then there will be ready to flies as well that I'm working on with TBS and also Flight Test. So yeah, look out for that. It'll be out in the next, probably early December. Check out Flight Test's channel, and I'll also be announcing stuff on my channel. And if you guys haven't heard, I'm starting a new company called Ethics, and I don't have stickers around here, but ethics.ethixlte, ETHIXLTD.com. If you're curious, you want to check it out. I'm starting a new company with 4 of my closest and coolest people that I've met through the industry in a long time. That is Snake, i.e. Thomas, i.e. Justin, Power, and then we have Konasty, which is Eric Konetsky from California, one of my really good friends. We do the Failsafe podcast together. And then Trappy, which is the owner of TBS, one of the owners of TBS, and then myself. And we will be basically doing, let me read you the mission statement for Ethics. So this is what we plan to do with this company that I'm building. So Ethics is here to refine FPV by bringing together the experience, passion, and know-how of top-tier pilots. We plan to help educate, inspire, and empower others to succeed with model aviation. We will do this through structured and refined educational material designed to simplify the task of getting into the air and staying there. We will create new products that take innovations presented by engineers and refine them to be as user-friendly as possible, or as user-friendly and future-proof as possible. We will also continue to inspire by bringing you along with us as we travel and pursue our passions for exploration and flight. Signed, Justin, Steele, Eric, and Raphael. So that is kind of what Ethics is all about. That is kind of the mission statement. That's very, this is a super new company. We will be coming, I have at least 20 products in the lineup coming out in the next 3 to 5 months, including my V2 motors, a really sick lithium, like a lipo bag, and I don't know, a lot of stuff that sounds like it's minuscule and like might be kind of cool, but once you see it, you're gonna be like, oh, okay, I understand now. So, anyways, let me read some more comments here. Loose prop FPV, how do you mount the Crossfire antenna to your Alien? So that's a great question. So I actually run, let me show you on this one. This one's a little easier to see. So I run a zip tie up the back of the quad here, and then I run the vertical part of the antenna up that zip tie and put a piece of heat shrink over it and shrink it down, and then I will zip tie that zip tie with the antenna to the standoff. Then I take the little ground plane, which comes out of the bottom here in the middle, and I will run that out the side at a 90-degree angle, and I will run another zip tie around the standoff out the back with that thing running along it, and then put a piece of heat shrink over that as well, and you end up with this little kind of L shape with your Crossfire antenna. So you have the ground plane at a 90-degree angle parallel to the ground, and then you have the vertical, like, active element going perpendicular to the ground. And when you're flying, it's, I don't know, you can run the Immortal T like sideways. I just thought that this was a lighter and a little bit more um, efficient way to do it, and it didn't get chopped. The Immortal T was a little bit more susceptible to getting chopped on my particular rig, so I didn't use it. But with that being said, I haven't had any problems with this. The newbie drone office said, "Hey, what's up, guys?" Let's see, one more. Michael, where's Snake in the bathroom? Nope, Snake's not in the bathroom. Let's see, what else? Oh God, they're going by so quickly. What's my favorite skate trick? Switch 360 flip. What? Let's see here. Loose prop. Thank you, my friend. Guillermo, oh my God, you talk for hours. Open the effing micro. No, I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm going to end this in the next 5 minutes so we can do 35 minutes. The van is actually down, parked in the basement of this. That was Steve Z. So it's parked in the basement of my apartment complex. Not in the basement, it's outside actually. And I will be taking it to my parents' house tonight so that I can wake up tomorrow and finish the sink. Because all of my tools and all of the stuff that I order for the van, because it's so big, I just send it to my parents' house because it's hard to deliver that kind of stuff down here in the downtown Atlanta area, which is where I live. And also it's kind of a pain in the butt to deliver that stuff to an apartment. So I just deliver it to my parents' house, and then I'll be going up there and finishing up the van hopefully tomorrow, and then taking my first trip, actual real trip. Like, I went down to Orlando in it for like 3 days for Flight Fest, and I'll be going back down to Orlando area on the 25th of November to the 8th of November, and I'll be down there doing my paramotor training with the Aviator guys, Aviator PPG, which is located just south of Atlanta in Lake Wells, I think. And yeah, basically they're going to teach me how to fly paramotors so I can be Tucker Gott and fly around with my paramotor. And hopefully when I do my van trip in the spring, where I'll be traveling all around the United States, meeting as many people as possible and flying with as many people as possible, I can hopefully be like, oh, look at that. That would be really cool to fly from. And I will fly my paramotor with quads attached to me to the spot, and then land there, and then fly my quads from the spot that I've landed with my paramotor, and then I'll fly back down and then take my van to somewhere else. So hopefully that will be really cool. And then I'll actually be going to Dubai on December 12th for like a week with Trappy. So that's kind of the travel plans that I have coming up in the next month. Stinkfist32, any chance you could bust a shitso at your next freestyle comp? I don't go to too many freestyle comps, but anyways, yeah, I might. There was a Nico, he said something about the mods on the STI. So the next mods that I will be doing are suspension and wheels and tires. I actually had ordered some wheels, or sorry, some tires for it like a week ago. Ended up changing my mind on the size that I wanted. I went like a 245/40 17. I decided I don't want to go 17s on it unless you do like a 245/45 or 235/45 17, just because it looks kind of small on that car. I feel like 18s feel out the wheel well a little bit better and provide a thinner sidewall, so it's not like got a lot of sidewall flex. So anyways, I'll end up buying some wheels and tires as soon as I'm done buying my paramotor, because that's going to be a big expense. So I just ordered my wing for paramotoring, and then I'll be buying the actual motor itself when I'm done with my training. So this is A1 Fazu. He said, how do you reduce jello in HD video? You put an ND filter on it, or you tune the quad to not have vibrations. Those are really the only options. Or you soft mount the camera. That's really the only 3 options. What do you use for music in your car? What do you mean? I use YouTube Red a lot, actually, because for some reason YouTube has kept track of everything that I've searched over the last 10 years of my life as far as like music is concerned, and all of that stuff's really cool, so it just like plays it on repeat. So it's essentially when I get intrigued by a song, I search it on YouTube, try to find it, and for the last 10 years that's been going on, and now it knows and has tracked me since the beginning, and so now it knows all the cool songs that I've searched for. This is from Dizzy FPV. Says, any talk of ethics making their own FC? No. Jared Swartz, Q7S or XD9, please try flyer some kind of frame. I still prefer the Q or the X9D. I actually have a special edition X9D coming out in the next couple weeks. So I've been working on that for 6 months now. So anyways, it's basically an exact replica of the one that I use, except different colors. Looks really freaking cool. It's got the antenna mod. It's got Hall sensor gimbals. It's got a kickstand for the back. I don't know, a lot of cool stuff. That'll be out in a few weeks, so be on the lookout for that. There's only 500 of them, so if you want one, they're not going to be too expensive, but they are limited, so be on the lookout for that. Is my mustache a joke that got out of hand? Yes, it is, and I actually kind of like it now. But sometimes I want to shave it. It's a little annoying when you're eating soup. You can never like soup it up. Normally, you have to like pull down or something. I don't know. Like soup and a mustache just don't really work well. It's strange. So 2 more questions and then I'm gonna call it a night. Would love to see Steele in Antigua in the Caribbean. Dude, I would love to go to the Caribbean. That was from Perb Laxd. Love to go to the Caribbean. Never been anything south of the equator, so need to make that happen. I'll actually hopefully be going to Costa Rica soon for a paramotor trip, but I'm not exactly sure if that's south of the equator. I don't think it is. It's very close, but yeah. I would love to go to South America. I got a lot of people in Brazil that would like me to come there, Argentina, and definitely in Australia. I plan on doing a trip to Australia in the very near future. So hopefully after my van trip, or slightly right before it, maybe January, February, I'll end up going to Australia, because I am planning on doing the van trip as soon as it starts to get warm in about late March, early April, and I'll be doing a counterclockwise circumference of the United States, hitting a lot of cities and places and trying to meet up with people and fly and just basically hang out. Like, that's all really the van trip's about. It's not about me making any kind of profit off of it. It's literally just me having fun, going out, trying to meet as many of you guys as I can. And the only real way to do that feasibly is to travel and then do little mini meetups. And I will have a scheduled path and like a window of time that I will be in particular cities, so that you can have as much of a chance to at least say hey and shake my hand if you want to do that, that you can. Hopefully that will happen. And I've been to England, Casper round. It was cool. I probably will be back. I just have no plans to go to England in the near future, but maybe that will change. I'm going to Germany next year, so not close, but it's in Europe. Steele, this is from Drew Little FPV. I just got the Steele PDB and I'm trying to get a Crossfire working, IQ working. I'm sorry I didn't get the whole question. I can go back, but I won't know if I find it. Let me see. Okay. I'm trying to get the Crossfire IQ working. Any tips? IQ. I don't know what IQ means. Lewis grips? I don't know. When is your X9D coming out? And you want to get a new radio? That's AeroDog 100. The X9D, so my prototype that I was supposed to basically say, like, this is all good, and it's like I'm supposed to sign off on it, and then it will basically come in the mail to me, or sorry, it was supposed to be shipped to me from China. Well, China to Sven in California, Sven to me. Sven sent it to me. It got lost in the mail. It got lost for like 2 weeks. He went on vacation. It's supposed to get to me. All I have to do is basically hold it in my hand and say, I like it, fly with it a couple days, make sure everything's good, and then say, all right, go. And then like 2 weeks after that, they will have made the 500, and then they will be ready to be sold. So I was going to show you pictures, but it would take me too long to go through my phone to find that. All right, one more so we can break the 40-minute mark. Someone give me a good one. Give me a good one. What coils for the STI? I don't know yet. I don't know yet. That didn't count. That didn't count. Do you think? Okay, so the Crazy Wax 01 is a good one. Do you think you will get bored of FPV? Fantastic question. I've gone through spurts, like with everything. You go up and down. You get psyched on something, you get de-psyched on something. You find something else to get psyched on, and then you try to incorporate whatever you were doing and get psyched on it again. It's a weird cycle. Everyone does it. You're never like super hyped on anything forever. There's always ebbs and flows. With FPV, it's been one of those things that I really, really liked when I started, and I really like a lot of things when I start them, like rock climbing. Super psyched on it for like 2 years at least. I was literally going every single weekend. I still really do it. It's a huge part of my life, but it's not something that I will like wake up in the middle of the night thinking about. Where FPV hasn't really been that for probably about a year and a half now for me. I don't wake up in the middle of the night and think about flying per se. But the cool thing about FPV is there's so many things interlaced with FPV, like the technology aspect, the camera aspect, the props, the ESCs, like the technology aspect of it, the editing the videos after you create the flight, the understanding the business of how to. I mean, I do this as my career, so I need to understand like what I like, and usually what I like is like what other people will like to use because it works really well for me, and I can show that it works really well for me. And I'm always kind of one of the people that uses the what I consider the best of the best. Like I rarely will take something that's cheaper or less expensive unless it actually is legitimate as far as quality is concerned and the person is just selling at a cheap price for who knows why. I mean, there are really good things that are cheap out there, don't get me wrong, but for the most part I just try to spend money in a one time. I try to do the best I can on making a purchase that I will be happy with, and the same thing goes with FPV. But to sum up all of that, FPV is something that has opened up a lot of doors in my life. It's opened up different relationships. It's opened up different hobbies that I didn't think I would ever get into. Like now I'm going to be starting paramotoring. I got into like building a van so that I could pursue traveling and flying FPV. So I don't think FPV will ever be like boring because of all the doors that it allows me personally to open essentially, or to gain access to. So through FPV, which I still really, really enjoy, I go out and I have a blast with Kevin and John and whoever I fly with. I'm smiling from ear to ear every single day, flying and having as much fun as I can, screaming. Like I don't get as amped as I do when I'm flying really well with a quad anytime at all ever. So if that doesn't say anything about FPV for me for me personally, then I don't know what does. I'm never as happy as I am when I'm flying quad and having a good day, which is usually every single time that I fly because I don't get to fly that much, and when I do, it's sick. So yeah, FPV. I don't know if it'll ever get boring. Maybe one day, but it's been about 3.5, 4 years now, and it's pretty much the same psych level. And if not for the same reasons, just the generic idea of FPV and how many doors it has still remains like a super huge psych for me. So, Flight Fest West, I don't think so. Anyways, I will end this now. It was a pleasure chatting with you guys. I hope I tried to get as many V2 motors. And I can't talk about the V2 motors yet. They're really cool, but they'll be out soon. Just be on the lookout for them. Just know that the specs are the same. The motor has changed. Better motor, specs are the same. So kind of keep that in mind. I don't need any more power. I like the efficiency where it is, but the motor could use some design upgrades, and that's kind of what the V2 is based around. So anyways, I'll leave that at that, and I will end this thing once I figure out how to do that. I think you open up OBX and you hit stop streaming. So anyways, thank you guys. It was a pleasure chatting with you. If you have any questions, I try to answer as much as I can on YouTube. I don't get to it often. Instagram is usually the best place for me to get a response out of me through either comments or private message. And then the other thing is if you're psyched and you want to check out more of Ethics, Ethics is not really a fully developed site yet, but you can check out Ethics Ltd, ETHIXLTD.com. If you have any questions on my setups or anything like that, you can actually go to rippingballs.com, which is another one of my websites, which actually has everything you would ever need to know about this quad in particular and what I fly and why I fly it, from build videos to all kinds of stuff like that. And yeah, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate all that you do, and thank you. Have a good night.